Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop. This week I'm doing a special post-apocalyptic build sponsored by Big Paw Garage. Alright, so this is what we got. I'm going to use the base, or the wheels at least, off of one of these. And let's see what we got here. Let's see. Junk. I've done that before. Doesn't really speak to me, but it does have the window net. It's kind of cool. This would look kind of cool. Kind of retro. That would work. I like that. See that one. Javelin. It's kind of. Yeah, I'm kind of matching up the wheelbases here. Kind of works on this one, and I might be able to use some of those pieces. So stick around. This is going to be kind of a long build. I go into a lot of detail. If you like what you see and you like die-cast cars and trucks, you enjoy customizing them, looking for tips and inspiration, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to get notified of all future videos. So yeah, the whole point of this actual build and the challenge that was put forth through the Facebook group on the Outlaw Speed Shop Facebook page was to build something without using 3D printed parts. If you look at a lot of my builds for post-apocalyptic Gasland style, I use stuff from Ken Overby, I use stuff from Mad Cars. I've always used some sort of 3D printed something or other, and it always just enhances the build. So this was something that I'm up to my elbows in challenges, but this was something I kind of wanted to take on because I wanted more challenge myself, and at the same time I thought it would be a good way to do a video on not needing a lot of stuff. So I'm taking these two cars and I picked them obviously on purpose because of the wheelbase, and they had the right mix of parts that I wanted. And we could use multiple vehicles, we just couldn't use anything aftermarket. So I'm kind of mixing Matchbox and Hot Wheels. So you can see here, after I took the jungle truck or whatever the hell it was apart, the top cage I thought was kind of cool. And again, this is not a top-notch build. This was more just for I kind of did it for fun, and I'm doing it just to show that you don't need all kinds of crazy stuff to build a car to be able to be proud of. And this was probably about as simple as I've gone on a vehicle. Some of the other guys, I've already seen a few of their videos and some pictures of their before and afters, and they're freaking amazing. So make sure you check them out. Guys like SILVA. There's a bunch of people in the group, so obviously Big Paw Garage. I'll put some links down below. So I'm trying to get this cage to fit and make everything kind of work together. The posts line up pretty, they snap right in. It's like it was made for it. Excuse me, but there's a few things that have to be ground down. So obviously a cutoff disc and a grinding disc, whatever you have, or jeweler's saw, certainly comes in handy on this. Mainly just, this has got a lot of fitting and finishing and a lot of little things to make it fit, but the important part for me was that the posts lined up. The rest was just minutia. So the 4x4 chassis itself, had some posts on it for the other vehicle. It had high arches where the wheel wells go, so I had to cut those down and trim them. But once I got it, and I got it to the length I needed overall, everything just kind of fit perfectly. Now the interior for the Javelin had to be trimmed as well. I ended up cutting the dash, and I cut the back after the rear seat and rear what do you call it, the package tray. I cut behind all that, and what that does is it just frees up for where those wheel arches are on the larger chassis, and it had that post sticking up, so I cut that off as well. And then after I cut the dash off, I ended up just gluing it just a smidge further forward to give myself a little bit of clearance. But you can see underneath the package tray, the Javelin's interior actually held the wheels in place. So I'm just cutting that off because we don't need it, and it was interfering with how it fit on the other chassis. Well, what's great is you can pick and choose. I mean, if you're like me, you've got cars you'll never ever do anything with. But I just can't get myself to throw anything away or do any, I keep everything. So, that Javelin was in a junk pile. You never know what you're going to use, especially if you're into these kind of builds. It really comes in handy. So the wheels within the actual truck chassis sat too close to the body. So all I'm going to do, and again, I'm just going bare bones here. I'm not doing anything fancy. I just grooved out the bottom of the chassis where the wheels would sit, and I just glued the wheels in directly, just like that. And that gave it the clearance I needed. So this cage, after I got it all kind of to the point where I could try to fit it, it's too narrow. So I have to really hack this thing up a little bit, and I'm going to start grinding the plastic on the inside to see if that's going to fit. And then I realized even that's still too narrow. So I'm going to cut those plastic pieces off, and that allows me to sit it a little bit different than I imagined, but it still works pretty good. And I'm winging this. I had no plans of how I was going to do anything. The best thing to do is just lay it all out and start cutting crap up and seeing how it's going to fit. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trimming I'm trimming posts. I have to cut the toolboxes off the back to get it to fit. I cut the tire off the front to get that to fit. So you just keep adding stuff on and seeing how it's going to work and how it's going to look. And with Gasland style or post-apocalyptic, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's whatever you want to do. You got to think about it. It's not supposed to look perfect. The metal's not supposed to look perfect. Nothing you glue on would have been welded in the real world perfectly. They're using stick welders and whatever they have. What I'm saying? It's your vision, your post-apocalyptic environment, so you can do whatever you want. Maybe there's no electricity. Who knows? So here is actually before I cut the wheel off on the front, which is like a spare tire. I go to glue it on, and then I realize it doesn't sit as flush as I want it to, so then I hack it off. So there's a lot of experimenting and trying different things. It's all about having fun, and I have this bag of styrene. It's a mixed bag, and I keep all my little pieces. I don't care what it is. I don't care how small it is. I keep it. I just throw it back in the bag, and it works out good because I end up using it 99% of the time. And I have this corrugated sheet that came with it. I've been using that. I've probably done, I don't know, maybe 10 cars. I've used pieces of it. So, and it was just that one piece that came in the kit, I believe. So here I just kind of marked out the back window, and I'm not going crazy. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to get it close, and then I'm going to glue that on, and that's my back protection for gunfire or I don't know, whatever's going to come through my back window in a post-apocalyptic world, I guess. Flaming bottles of whatever. So here I am gluing the tire on separately after I had cut it off. Excuse me, you have to excuse me, my allergies are killing me for some reason. So now it's just, what do I do? I'm just going through my stuff. I've got this really thick styrene. I think it's a little bigger than an eighth, so it might be 3/16 because it's not quite a quarter. And I'm doing that, and then I'm going to glue this more corrugated stuff. This piece that's how I found it. It was all jagged, and I'd cut pieces out of it for whatever. I'm gluing it on just as it is. I'm going to trim a little bit and keep the shape because it looks different, And I've said it before, layer. The more layers you have, the more realistic it looks. So then I look, okay, well, I got this 3/16 or whatever standoff. What can I put in there? So I'm taking some brass tubing, excuse me, the 1/16 axle tube that I always have kicking around, some 3/16 styrene tube and 3/16 square tube. I'm gonna make myself a little gun. Again, I'm not going crazy. I'm not using any kind of 3D printed parts or anything like that. Just using what I got, kicking around, and all this was in the bag. I actually had this piece in the bag because it was too short for me to do much of anything else with the package it came in. So it's just a matter of trial and error. You know, sometimes you can sit there and think about it all day long, but until you start putting stuff together, for me, it just starts flowing. You know, right or wrong, you could think this is the ugliest piece of crap in the world, and that's fine. Mission accomplished, because that's kind of what I was after. Is there rhyme or reason to anything? No, I'm just gluing shit on the car. But I enjoyed the build. This whole hobby is about enjoying just shutting things off, the real world and all your drama and issues and things you got going on in your life, and just sit down and have fun. You know, you just decompressing, I guess is the word. So here, and I'm going back all over the place. This is a long video, and I'm trying to be descriptive and keep it somewhat entertaining, and you've probably already clicked off by now. But anyways, I'm covering up the holes for the wheel arches there where the wheel wells were. Now I'm just taking some scrap pieces of brass tube, I'm putting them on top of that cage, and I'm adding some wire mesh, which is actually from, if you ever do work on fiberglass cars, that's the fiberglass, the mesh you put down first. So I'm just going to put those down. Again, I'm not, you know, I'm kind of being a little neat here, but only because I didn't want it all over the place. I'm just having fun. I did most of this in maybe a day and a half. When I say a day, I only get a couple hours a day I can work on these. So I had a blast doing this, and I'm really glad I took this project, this challenge on. It allows you to kind of think outside the box too. When you do regular customs, you know, it's okay, I gotta do paint, I gotta do wheels. This allows you to just not care. I didn't even strip the car. I do end up painting it, but I didn't have to strip it, which makes it even better. So now I'm kind of drawing out some, I want to make something for the front, and this looks ridiculous, but it was fun to do. When I say ridiculous, I mean obnoxious. I mean, it's just three big spikes, I guess you could say, that come off that front I-beam that I glued to the front in place of a grill. You can see them right there. I mean, it's just horrible looking, but I don't really care. I think it was kind of cool. And I took a piece of styrene, two pieces of styrene, I believe that's the 3/16, and I cut it on an angle on one end, and I'm going to glue it to the pieces I glued over the wheels, and that's my exhaust pipes. So again, just using scrap pieces of stuff that I've had kicking around in that bag. Use what you have. You can hack up, like that Jim SILVA I was talking about. He had a bunch of Volkswagen stuff that he had cut up to make. He had made some customs and didn't need those parts, but he didn't throw them away, and he ended up using them, which is perfect. That's why you keep everything. You know, I'm a hoarder when it comes to this stuff. I mean, I've got a whole bin full of stuff that I didn't end up using, but it's there and it's available, and that's what it's all about. Here I'm just making a little shelf to go on top of the ridiculous looking spikes that come off the front. I don't even know what to call it. Cattle catcher, impaler, I don't know. Here's one of my junk bins. I've got this I think it was a Matchbox 32 Roadster chassis, and it had some headlights on the front, so I just pretty much cut that off. I'm probably going to regret that because I'm going to need that at some point. I'm going to put them, I'm just going to throw them in there. I'm going to cut them in half, and I'm going to mount those inside in between the three. They're not straight, they're not supposed to be straight, they're just in there, and I think it adds a little bit of pizzazz to it. The back, if you remember, I cut off the toolboxes off the back of the initial Matchbox cage. found a way to use it. I'm going to mount it on the back. So there's the chassis, all complete. There's the body, all complete. I'm going to use Citadel Black, which I love. I've said it 100 times. Excuse me. So I painted everything black. That's my base coat. You can base coat whatever you want. It's going to give you different effects. And I'm sorry for the quality of this. I had to reset my GoPro, which I use to film anytime I paint. For some reason, it's just wicked horrible, but I didn't want to get rid of the footage because it shows the Vallejo paints that I'm using. The rust colors are, as Rob from Matchbox Garage says, Vallejo. I'm layering these with different shades. I start with like a dark rust, and then I go to a light rust, and then I go, I think it's like a yellow rust. And I'm not even cleaning the gun. I'm just going from one to the other. I'll just, you know, I don't put a ton in there. I probably put like 4 drops, and it's enough to do what I'm trying to do. And then when I put the next one in, I just stir it with a toothpick or something, and give it a couple squirts to get the remaining out of the nozzle, and the mixed color, it blends nice. You can clean the gun out and just go to the next one. It doesn't matter. That's just, for me, again, this is supposed to be a quick build, and I don't want to spend all my time cleaning my damn airbrush. So this way I only had to clean it once. So I'm just layering it on. Now it's just Citadel paint time. I'm using some Retributor Armor, which has got the, it's like a brass color, to hit the corrugated and certain aspects of the roll cage, just to add a little color. And now it's all about contrast. It's what you think looks good. I could have left it the original paint and done kind of the same thing and not gone with the Citadel Black as a base coat. I do a lot of dry brushing. This is the Rise of Rust. You've seen me use before. So I layer. I'll go like the Retributor of the bronze, then I'll go a little bit of silver, then I go some rust, and then I'll wash it with a Nuln Oil or Agrath Earthshade, and then I go back over when I'm done and I highlight with one more dry brush of the Lead Belcher or something like that to kind of bring out a little bit of the steel. You can see my bench is kind of semi laid out. It's actually kind of neat for a change. And then it's just details. You know, the front tire, I wanted black, obviously. Then it's too black, so I'll end up weathering that down a little bit. And again, this is not a huge fancy build. I'm not using any 3D parts. I'm just using crap I got lying around the shop. And that's kind of why I really like this challenge. You know, granted, I'll probably never do this again, and I'll only use 3D parts because I have so many. But it shows that you can still have fun and do what you want to do and not have to spend a fortune. I'm actually using the transparent Tamiya paints for the first time on my exhaust. I'm using like a blue, and then I'm going to use orange to kind of give it that heat-worn look, and then I weather it again. But again, I want to thank Big Paw Garage for putting forth this challenge, because it was fun. I enjoyed it. Sometimes you get wrapped up in all these challenges and builds and everything you got to do, and it becomes not as much of a hobby as it becomes a full-time thing that you're trying to do. And when you have a full-time job, it's tough. So to have a fun build like this that you really enjoy, it's worth its weight in gold. And the car is just going to go in a box, and I'm probably never going to see it again. So I'm finishing it off with some Xandri dust, which is kind of get that sand look. I hit all the wheels, I hit the base of the car, any place that would get a lot of sand or sand buildup. And that's about it, really. I didn't go crazy with this. I think it came out pretty good for what it is. It's by far not my best, but considering what I worked with and what I set my limitations at, I think it came out pretty damn good. I was happy with it. So, you know, if you're ever bored, give it a shot. Just take some cars and challenge yourself to see if you can mate them together and do something kind of cool with it. As always, shout out to my Patreon members. It really helps make this channel possible. Chris Smith, Joey Williams, Kristen Stanland, Stephen Mance, William Robinson, Ed Ostrander, Devil's Details Diecast, Matchbox Garage, Alvarez's Diecast Customs, and the aforementioned Jim Silva. One-time pledges from Chris Stanifer, Aaron Conard, and the new one from Mad Max 454. Ones with the YouTube icons are linked down below. Please check out their channels and support them as well. This is it. This is what I got. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. I apologize for the really long video. I usually try to keep them half this length, but I figured I'd go into a little bit more detail and explanation. So thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one.